All right, it's 6:20 p.m. I'd like to call the Brimfield Township Board of Trustees meeting for a public hearing to order. Roll call for attendance. Kevin?
Here.
Sue?
Here.
And Nick Koya is present. All right, we are here to discuss public comments for the Brimfield Township zoning text amendment. So I will turn this over to the floor for Mike Ladd for an update, please.
Yes, this is for the existing definition of building height. The existing is the vertical distance measured from the average elevation of the proposed finished grade at the front of the building to the eaves. The revised definition of the building height is the vertical distance measured from the average elevation of the proposed finished grade to the eave and where the parapet wall meets the roof line. And then the proposed definition of eave will be the horizontal edge of the roof where it overhangs, or if it's a flat roof, to the top of the roof line.
All right. And we will now open the floor up for public comments on this proposed change. This is the public's chance to speak and let the board know if they have any concerns with the proposed change before it is brought before the Board of Trustees for review. We do not have any sign-ups for that, but we will open it up for public comments. Nothing? All right. Hearing no public comments on that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Roll call. Kevin?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And Nick? Yes. Meeting is adjourned at 6:21 p.m. We will have our next public hearing at 6:30 p.m. p.m., I'd like to call the Brimfield Township Board of Trustees meeting to order for a public hearing. Roll call for attendance. Kevin?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And Nick Coya is also present. We are here to discuss township zoning text amendment changes and to hear public comments related to those changes. So I will turn the floor over to Mike Ladd to update us on this one.
Yep. So this is a text amendment adding a new chapter, Appendix F for lighting standards to the zoning resolution. And attached is all the lighting district, the sheets of what that lighting district would look like. This is for the town center. And when you do in the next meeting, you can specify that this is for the town center, so the language goes into that, so it's not like a standard everywhere, but the town center.
We can limit it, okay.
I didn't see that come back from regional, but, yeah, everything's here. It's every detail of it, so they're all uniform throughout the town center. We don't have different lighting on the streets.
All right. With that said, we will open up the floor to public comments. This is your chance to give feedback to the board on the proposed changes and allow us to know any concerns that you may have. We do not have any signatures at this time, but I will leave it open for a minute in case anyone would like to speak on this proposed change.
You want to say anything, Bill?
No, I got to stand up over there.
I don't have a hand mic, I'd hand you
But
one.
it really kind of matches the old basis of what we have existing. So we would have to replace those. The only thing that we change is the heads. Once the actual light is figured out, because of so it's
Okay.
whether they're going to keep the piece out of it.
Anything from the public? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn. Roll call. Kevin?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick? Yes. Meeting adjourned at 6:32 p.m. Our next public hearing will be at 6:40 p.m. Okay, it's 6:40 PM. I'd like to call the Brimfield Township Board of Trustees, public hearing to order. Roll call for attendance. Kevin?
Here.
Sue?
Here.
And Nick Hoy is present. We're here to talk about a Brimfield Township zoning text amendment change. So I will turn the floor over to Mike Ladd for an update.
Yeah, thanks. This is coming back from the zoning commission pursuant to what the trustees were looking at, getting more agriculture into the properties and holding onto the agriculture and eliminating the PRD developments. This doesn't mean that they can't do a subdivision within the R2, they just have to follow the specific guidelines of the R2 instead of a PRD where it would be like quarter acre lots.
All right. We will now open up the floor to public comments or feedback on these proposed changes for the board to take under consideration. We have no signatures at this time, but we'll leave it up here for a minute in case anybody would like to talk on these proposed changes.
For the people that are here, what does PRD stand for?
Planned residential development.
Planned residential. Okay, thank you.
R2 currently allows what size lots, Mike? Just out of curiosity.
I
'Cause I know you
think,
said they couldn't.
I think
do
they're one
PRD.
acre. I think they're 1 acre.
They're 1 acre?
Yep.
Thank you. The red lines will be the changes to this text amendment.
So if they want to do a subdivision of 50 homes, they need 50 acres plus some green space.
Plus green space.
So that's increased from a quarter acre to a full acre?
It would be keeping, you have 1 acre lots now in the R2, and it wouldn't change the R2 zoning, it would just eliminate the ability to go to a planned residential development, which would be quarter acre lots roughly.
What is the enforcement in there if they went to, if they went to the Board of
Appeals?
yes, would they be able to change that down?
So they could go for a use variance, anybody could appeal and go for a use variance, but the specifics listed in a use variance would be hard to sell. It's like an adult use coming into a residential district. It's a very hard sell. Can't say that it's none, where they have no chance, but it's like a 99% chance. Yeah, everybody has a right to go appeal. Like if I turn it down based upon the code, they have the right to go to the BZA to seek a variance. I just think it would be highly unlikely that they would ever get that variance.
But there's a chance.
There's always a chance.
Code currently reads planned residential developments are acceptable though, so they just can submit drawings for this at this point.
Yep, they would be taken out. And it's the same thing, like even an adult use can come in and I could deny them based that they're only allowed in heavy industrial. But they could still come in and say, well, I want to come in down the street here and here's the reasons why. They could always seek that variance, but it's very highly unlikely that the board would ever approve a variance when they're specific to different districts. And of course, then the trustees would have the right to appeal that decision of the BZA to the court as well. So if that ever did happen. Which I don't think the trustees would mind doing if that happened.
Any other questions?
If you build on your half acre or 1 acre, and then you give away half of it. I mean, somebody's already asked you to do that, zoning. They want to give property acreage to their neighbor, so they're left enough to build on, but they're not left enough to have a house on.
Yeah, I can't give a permit out unless it meets the lot configurations.
Yes, but what about the house that, it's already built, okay, and it's on 3/4 of an acre?
Yeah.
He wants to give a little over 1/4 of an acre to the neighbor. He'll be on under a half acre for a house that's already built, which you can't change, is that?
We don't let the split happen. That happens that happens more than you think. That's probably like 3 a month that come in and try to
Flag
do
lots
that.
and things like that, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hearing no other?
Did you have something wrong? Did you raise your hand? Oh, sorry.
He scratched his ear. It's like an auction. If you scratch your ear, oh, yeah. All right, hearing no others, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, roll call. Kevin?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
And Nick, yes. All right, we are adjourned from this meeting at 6:46 PM. I'm not used to doing roll call myself.
I'm not used to it either.
Okay, it's 6:50 PM. I'd like to call the
Yeah, I see that.
Brimfield Township Board of Trustees public hearing to order. Roll call for attendance, please. Kevin?
Here.
Sue?
Yes,
Nick Coy is also present. We have a full board. We're here to take public comments on a Brimfield Township zoning text amendment proposal. I'll turn it over to Mike Ladd for an update.
Yep, so this is section 400.10B51. It's institutions for human medical care such as but not limited to hospitals, clinics, mental health care facilities, and nursing homes. We went through this extensively with the zoning commission. It just doesn't make any sense to have
that's,
any of these restrictions for those type of uses.
Okay, so this is, all red line will be removed from the code as the proposed changes.
Yes.
Where would these institutions for medical care, hospitals, as it goes on in there, are they gonna exist somewhere, do they exist somewhere else in the code right now, Don?
Oh, they exist, yeah,
Okay.
so they all exist. It's just, this was an extra addition on top of regular requirements of the zoning district. So for example, it came to light when we have an oral surgery center going next to Dillon's, between Dillon's and Tamarack. It was 1.95 acres, and then they had to seek a variance because this requires 2 acres for oral surgery center. And we're like, well, that doesn't make any sense, you know, so.
Okay. All right, we'll take public comment. We have nobody signed up on the sheet, but we'll leave that open for a minute if anybody would like to speak on the zoning text amendment change to 400.10B. Any changes? Hearing no comments, we will entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
so moved,
I'll second.
Roll call, Kevin?
Yes.
Sue?
yes.
Nick, yes. We are adjourned at 6:52 PM. Our next meeting is at 7 PM for our regular meeting. 7 PM, I'd like to call the Brimfield Township Board of Trustees regular meeting to order. Roll call for attendance, please.
Kevin,
Here.
Sue,
Here.
Nick.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Normally we ask for a moment of silence, prayer, and meditation, but today we'd like to have a moment of silence in memory of Kane, the elementary school boy that we recently were notified that passed away this week. There are some fundraisers going on. Obviously, check with those foundations before you give, but we just wanted to have a moment of silence for him tonight. Thank you. All right. Announcements and correspondences.
I have an announcement,
All right.
or correspondence, whatever. I was contacted by a student from Kent State in the Parks and Rec.
Okay.
And he wanted to know if we were interested in teaming up with them as far as like whatever we're doing with our parks. They were looking for like an internship or just some kind of partnership with Kent State.
Okay.
And I just wanted to bring it to the board to see, I know we're looking at some other things, but I just thought that was maybe a good fit.
Was it a student or was it somebody from the university for the internship?
It was a student,
Okay.
but they had talked apparently to their advisor, and they were also interested in seeing if we were interested.
I'm always interested in looking at options into internships, especially if we can partner with Kent State. It's really nice.
Okay.
So maybe we can get together and have them come as a meeting guest or coordinate with us just via email initially to get some background information and see what that could potentially look like moving forward.
Okay. I'll reach back out to them.
All right. Other announcements or correspondences? Department heads? All right. We have no meeting guests tonight. We do have meeting minutes that need to be reviewed. The 217 was approved during our special meeting on 225, so we just need a motion to accept the 225 special meeting minutes as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any changes? All right, hearing none, roll call for acceptance of those meeting minutes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
meeting minutes approved.
I'm going to need a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I would like to make an addition.
Second first.
That second.
All right, so we got a second. All right, now we have, is there any amendments or changes? You said you had one.
Yeah, I would like to talk about the spring cleanup program that we're going to have on May the 9th.
All right, we'll put that under Administration 1A2, will be spring cleanup. While we're under old business, number 3 will be Touch a Truck. Number 4 will be field rentals. Number 5 will be property assessments. 6 will be AmeriGas. And 7 will be library cost sharing. Under 1B as in boy, we'll have admin costs needing board approval, potentially. And under admin, where did you say you wanted to change something there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
Yeah, we currently have under board approval, cleaning services proposal. I need to table that until the next meeting.
So we'll line that out and replace that with response to court case 2024 CV00437. And number 2 will be Central Visitors Bureau. Do we have any other changes? That big list of changes under old business is stuff that was left open that just wasn't settled, so we're gonna update the agenda in the future to include those. Hearing no other changes, we have a motion as second on the floor with proposed changes. Roll call for acceptance of that motion with proposed changes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes. Motion passes. Now we have purchase orders. I'll entertain a motion to accept the purchase orders as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any questions on the purchase orders? Hearing none, roll call for acceptance.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
purchase orders accepted.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept the warrants as presented.
So move.
Second.
All right, discussion? I just had one question. I think I know the answer. Jasmine, there was double pays for FD. Is that because of uniform?
Yes.
Okay.
Those are uniform allowances.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was just wanted to verify. Any other questions on warrants? Hearing none, roll call for acceptance of warrants as presented.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
warrants accepted.
All right, we'll now move into public comments and questions. We ask that you do please state your name and address before addressing the board. You have 3 minutes. We do have a sign-up sheet if anybody would be interested in speaking. We will start with Mr. Dan Mars. If anybody else wants to speak at the same time, we have it here.
My name is Dan Mars, 1944 Old Forge Road. So Brimfield residents have been very clear on the desire to cultivate a small-town feel in our township. That sense of community is generated by gathering residents together, which is a major goal of a functioning Parks and Recreation Department. In addition to the social impact, studies have shown that a strong Parks and Recreation program has a significant economic impact. One study suggests that every dollar spent on parks and trails in Ohio has a $2 economic impact. Conversely, township parks that are not maintained invite vandalism and crime and become a blight to the community. Now, last week, I visited a few of our local parks and noticed this decline already happening. I found a gaga ball court filled with tall weeds, an overgrown volleyball court, dirty signage, and a discarded TV that was laying in the pavilion, in addition to other litter. I previously sent an email to each of you dated February 16th that outlined a proposal to address the Parks and Recreation problem. I am willing to temporarily volunteer as the Township Parks and Recreation Director in order to establish a functioning parks program at no cost to the township. I have a strong background in parks management and event organization. My initial priority would be to form a 501c3 advisory board consistent with Ohio Revised Code 511.23 with members from the community and key organizations. Next, I'll form a group of park volunteers to help run programs and maintain parks. I'll also establish partnerships with local businesses to sponsor park activities and projects. I will create a schedule of activities, including concerts, sporting events, and festivals. I would also prioritize opening the community center for rentals again, which would generate funds to go directly to the township's general fund. If the township, or if the trustees wish to act on this proposal, I would suggest moving quickly in that there's a lot to do to establish in time to have a program in place for the spring and summer. So, thank you.
Thank you for your time. All right. Anybody else?
Would it be possible that down in, for the good of the order, or we could put this as an addition to the agenda here to further open this up so Mr. Mars can talk with us and let us know what his, more so than just a 3-minute conversation? Do we want to do that, or do we want to wait and bring it up on the agenda at our next meeting.
I think it's
Possibly-
kind of covered under the meeting guests, under updates too.
Okay,
So we have
and
a section.
possibly we could even have that young student, get their input and recommendations from that, you know. Just a thought.
No, I mean, they're valid thoughts, so, yeah, they would, I think we'll just get in a little more detail when we get to adding the meeting guest,
Okay,
how we can make that happen.
all right.
Okay, any other public comments? Hearing none. Any safety concerns the board needs to be aware of?
I have one, and I don't know if, Roy, if this is for you, but I got a complaint from a resident about parking down at the elementary school on the, I guess, the fire main? I don't know. I guess they talked to the fire chief, and he said he would take care of it, but it continues to happen during school hours. Do you know anything about it?
I don't, is the fire lane located on school property, or is it located?
They said it's on the south end of the parking lot, and there's lines painted for
Yeah,
no
if it's on
parking.
the school's property line in there, yeah, I can have a conversation with our SRO or with one of the staff members over there, but
Okay. I'll just let them know you're gonna check into it.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I just want
is
for
that, I'm sorry, is that a pickup or
Okay.
drop-off time? I mean, that lot gets
They,
packed.
they said it's all day, because that's what I asked. I said if it was just, a couple minutes here and there, but they said it's all day.
Ron's got something on it.
I'd like to comment on that. I also have fielded that phone call from Chief Maloney, told me to follow up on that. And I'm not quite sure where they're saying the fire lane is. There are painted slots that are against the fence that go towards the, I was thinking it's Casmano's property. I don't know if that says it anymore, but the,
Medical building there.
yes, the medical building, the staff, the janitorial staff parks there. It does not say fire lane
Okay.
on those hashed marks. The fire lane goes against the curb and there's signs on the wall. Now, that is a drop-off lane. They're in their car. They're able to move if there's an emergency. They are not parking there. I worked with the principal. I didn't know exactly. I'm assuming that's where he thought, because that's where the cars are parked, but I have not spoke to the gentleman myself.
Oh, I'll get a clarification from you.
Okay. And then we can verify if that is a parking lane or not. I don't see a fire lane parking, no parking sign there. I just see hash marks in the pavement.
I'm assuming that's what he was talking about.
Okay. So
But I'll reach out and I'll get clarification.
follow up together and see what we gotta do.
Okay, and Dave, Mr. Rufner, thank you so much for being out with your little patcher, because I've seen some good-sized holes filled up the last couple of days. I appreciate it.
Other safety concerns? Hearing none, we'll move into the business portion of our meeting. We will turn the floor over to our police department. Chief, floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I just have a couple of items under new business for the board this evening. We had a scheduled records disposal that took place this week, so we were able to get some of those records cleared out of our records room and had a disposal take place to clear up some space. So I want to thank Rochelle Stasel for her work on that project for us. One particular item of note, we're going to be retiring Canine Recon from service with Sergeant Kennard, and Sergeant Kennard Recon will be at the next meeting for the Board of Trustees on March 16th in the evening. So I want to take an opportunity to recognize Sergeant Kennard and Recon for their service at that meeting on the 16th. We're currently scheduling a couple of community outreach events. We've recently confirmed a date with our Brimfield Starbucks. The manager there reached out to us for a coffee with the cop event, so we will be at our Brimfield Starbucks on Saturday, March 14th from 9 to 11 a.m. If you're out and about, want to get a cup of joe and stop by and chat, please swing by and chat with us. I may or may not have a green apron on, and I may or may not serve you a drink in the drive-thru, but we will be there for conversation and coffee. One other item we're trying to do is schedule an event with Brimfield Elementary School as well, where we read to the students in class. That's something we do every spring. Currently just trying to get a date set aside with Brimfield Elementary to have us come into the school for that event as well. And one other item, we currently have a vacancy on the Regional Metro SWAT team, so we are currently accepting letters of interest from our officers to fill that vacancy on the SWAT team. And that's all I have for you at this time.
Thank you for the update. Do we have any questions for police today? Thank you for your report. We'll move in the fire department. Assistant Chief, floor is yours.
Good evening. Under new business, a couple updates. The entry-level firefighters completed their ride time, and today we actually did the physical assessments for those. So if you saw some people out pulling and dragging those, that was us. We are preparing for a large training in-house. We do a paramedic refresher that's done semi-annually, so we're getting everything together, what we need to do for that. And then also preparing for springtime, the senior luncheon. It will be at the end of April, but there is no date at this moment. Once there's a date, obviously, that'll go out to the public and everyone will know, and we'll start getting everything together for that senior luncheon. I know that's always a big hit.
Somebody was just messaging me this week about it,
Yeah.
so, perfect.
And that's all I have.
All right, any questions for fire today? All right, thank you for the report.
Yep.
We'll now move into administration. We'll start under old business updates. Number one is meeting guests. Kevin, floor is yours, sir.
Oh, I guess I was just looking for, we talked about it last meeting. I don't know if we clarified what is considered a meeting guest and how we approve who's coming up to talk, so.
So I think we have to define what the parameters of that is. Roy, you weren't here for that discussion, but we were trying to define how we would list meeting guests versus just the public speaking, and then how we register people to speak as meeting guests, to give them that 15-minute block. I would say it's a presentation that comes before the board, presenting something to the board. For example, I'll use the Boy Scouts as an example. When they do their Eagle Scout project, they would come in the past and give a presentation to the board, and then we could have some dialogue back and forth about that project, so that it wasn't public comments, wait till later in the meeting, comment on it, then they couldn't comment till later. Like, we could get some dialogue to move a project forward. So I would say it'd be somebody who is presenting something that is a project-based piece to the board. Roy, I don't know if you have additional parameters you'd want to put in that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So do they ask for permission one meeting and we approve it for the next? I mean, we can't drag it out for months at a time.
I think in the perfect world, we'd have a township administrator, and they would just get approved through that process.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
For now, I think it would have to come to either myself or Roy, because Roy's been kind of filling in that role as administrator to get that approval to be added to the agenda. Because obviously, we don't want to have 4 meeting guests in one night either.
Right.
Be cognizant of that time frame that happens there. But I think it's project-based, or somebody we invite in because, let's say, state rep. We want to invite the state rep to give a presentation.
For the betterment of Brimfield, right?
Yes,
We don't really care about a project in some other town.
correct.
Okay.
Well, then how would we address, like Mr. Mars wants to discuss with the township trustees or the administrator about what he would like to do for the township with the parks?
So we would add him
So-
on the next agenda as a meeting guest, giving him a 15-minute time slot.
Okay,
And then that's where that back and forth conversation.
that's where that,
We would
okay,
limit that to 2 meeting guests a night, but once again, it has to be something that's the betterment of Brimfield,
right,
a project that the board's looking at taking on.
okay,
Or an invited guest, for example, like I said, the state reps liaison may come to talk to us about some of this state and federal funding, right? It's gonna be more than a 3-minute piece, we'd wanna give them time to give that information.
okay.
So I'd say request to the board also.
Okay, so then the next meeting then, he'll have that 15 minutes to talk to us about that. Okay,
I would also say it's important that when we have these meeting guests, that they give some type of overview so that the board can prepare. So we're able to ask intelligent questions and not just hear the presentation and say, we'll come back in 2 weeks.
yeah,
Right.
okay.
So we'll overview in writing. Karen, you see any other areas that we could better define that?
No,
That's the
that-
problem, we just haven't been able to, we've never defined it before.
Right.
It just sat there on the agenda.
No, I think it's good.
Feedback from
Do,
anybody else?
do we need to clarify that we have to have something in writing just so that we know?
Yeah.
I
would
mean,
say
like a
that-
paragraph or something so we know what we're looking at, or?
So when
we're
it
not-
gets scheduled through whoever's doing the scheduling,
Okay,
they would articulate something needs to be in writing, and then that would come to us as part of our board packet. So we could prepare for that meeting to be able to ask
Okay.
questions.
all right.
And we don't need a 20-page dissertation, but just
Just a.
overview.
Overview, okay.
Or if they have a slide deck, they can send that in, because then Joe's gonna need that ahead of time anyways to upload, therefore it can be in that packet.
Okay.
And if it's a slide deck, Joe, do you need that as PowerPoint, PDF, what do you want it as? Anything?
Well, could
Well, I
he,
would want it to come to you just so we could put it in the packets. That way you have the file and then it comes into the packet.
well, I thought what he's,
Okay.
I thought what he said tonight was a lot of what in the letter that I received in my email. The points with that, so this way he won't have to go reinvent everything
Yep.
and can
We'll
just use that
accept
letter.
that and then schedule it for the next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, you're fine.
he can use that letter.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not necessarily for, I mean, are we done there, I guess? With meeting guests? We kind of got that squared away?
Yeah, if you're good with that, then we can go to the next point. I mean,
Yeah,
because next on, I just wanted to go, stay on our numbered order.
Okay.
Just us on the meeting guests.
well, kind of, I guess, the
Okay.
public comment, does that kind of go with meeting guests? I
You
don't-
can, anywhere you
Okay.
want to.
I had an idea. When they sign up for the 3 minutes,
Mhm.
could we put an extra box on there that you want to speak at the top of the meeting, or if you want to speak at the bottom of the meeting? Just as a trial. So when you sign in, you can say,
Could, do we want people speaking at the beginning and bottom? Or
no, just,
limited to
you,
one spot?
you get 1 3-minute thing, but you can pick, I want to speak in the top of the agenda, or I want to speak at the bottom.
We could,
Just to give it a couple of tries and see where everybody falls.
the caveat to that would be is how do you want to handle it? Like today, we have an executive session.
Right.
So good of the order technically falls after the executive session. Do people want to sit, because executive session some days is 5 minutes, some days is an hour and a half, right? They just have to be cognizant of that, but where do we want that to fall? If we go to the end of it. That's another reason we didn't stop doing it at the end of the meeting, was because executive sessions sometimes were a couple minutes, sometimes they were an hour and a half, and everybody was gone by the time we came out.
Was just a thought.
I'm not opposed to it, just do we want to then move the good of the order up before the executive session?
Well, when I went to the OTA Sunshine 3-hour training thing, they recommended that we don't have the executive session as the last thing in our meeting. They don't
always-
want that down there, they want that somewhere up.
We used to do it at the top. The problem once again was people wanted to come
The
to hear the
time.
meeting, and then they had to sit for an hour and a half before it came out to actually do the meeting. And we have long executive sessions. Not opposed to it, we were just trying to make it more convenient for the public to not
Oh,
have
I'd
to.
rather just be more convenient. We all wait a lot, especially at night.
Yeah. I mean, we can try it, Kevin, if you want to. I'm not, I have no problem.
I don't know, I just know it was a,
That's a
OTA doesn't, they say every subject should be allowed to be, commented on. Well, that's
We
not,
don't have time for that.
no,
Yeah.
so
People don't have time.
there's not a win either way, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought, let the resident pick a spot.
Want to try it for 2 or 3 meetings, and we'll just
I would-
reevaluate?
Sure,
Mm-hmm.
if everybody signs up at the end,
We'll just be here a little longer.
well, it's still the same 3 minutes, whether it's the
Yeah,
top or
it's
the
still
bottom.
the same 3 minutes, yeah.
I don't know.
It is.
All right, we can make that minor adjustment. All right, anything else under meeting guests?
I'm good.
All right, spring cleanup. Sue, did you have any updates for us? It could just be, it's just happening, but,
Oh, this is an FYI.
Okay.
I'm really excited about this. I pulled the flyer that we used last year. And one of the changes is last year the time was from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then this time we're going to have it from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And so we want y'all to come and meet the trustees if you've not met us yet. We'll be down there. And we also bring your unwanted scrap metal. And you can bring, Kevin just told me he's made arrangements that you could bring your automotive batteries and dispose of them there. And things like metal swing sets and lawnmowers and stoves and old beds and car parts. So get out in your garage, fellas, and clean it up. Bring it on down to us and we'll work with you on it. So I just wanted to let you know what we come up with. Oh, and Kevin also said that there's a gentleman who wants your old propane tanks. So you can bring those down. We're just trying to clean it up a little bit. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
You're doing fine.
You think?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I had to say.
All right, thank you for the update. Next, we have Touch Truck, which is going to be June 20th, 2026. We're still in the development phases of that. Kevin, you shared that you had a few food trucks already
Yep.
signed up.
We have 4 food trucks coming, burger truck, dessert truck, ice cream truck, and fruit truck, so.
All of our departments will be down there for that, and we're still entertaining applications for anybody that has large equipment we might want to bring down as part of this. I was just thinking of that. I'll reach out to recycling, because they usually bring the recycling truck down.
Can you confirm the date on that again for me?
Yeah, June 20th, it's gonna be a Saturday. Rory, would you be able to reach out for Metro to maybe be there?
Yeah, I can make an inquiry and see if it would be available.
Would be available?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
What's the
What
time?
time?
The time of that's gonna be
10 to 2, I think we decided, right?
4 hours?
Yeah, 10 to 2. No, that seems long.
It's long.
It was
11 to 2.
11 to 2, 10 o'clock would allow us set up. Because 11 to 12 would be our quiet hour, and then 12 to 2, is lights and signage. Alright, so we'll just leave that on the agenda as we go. As we get closer, we'll have more information. Next is field rentals. I've reached out to both Field Youth Soccer and Brimfield Athletic Association. BAA had a phone call with me about the proposed rental cost. They had expressed some frustration and concerns over the amount. I asked them to get back with their board and present us with a recommendation, but I have not heard back from them at this point. But we did just talk Thursday maybe, so it hasn't even been a week yet. And then I do have a meeting with Field Athletic, or Brimfield's Field Soccer on Wednesday. We're supposed to meet tomorrow, but he had to bump it to Wednesday, so we'll hear back from them at that point. Just want a little better understanding of the costs. Next up, property assessments. As discussed in the last meeting, during the administrative cost pieces, I reached out to a real estate agent just to give us some ballparks. We have one parcel of land on Old Forge, which is approximately 1.8 acres. They said that if we were to list that, it would list between 55 to 75,000 for that. If they were to list it on the market, they would recommend listing it at 75. If it's going to be a sealed bid, obviously we need to take that into consideration. They did have some questions for us, which I'll take back to council, but they said we will get the best price on any of the properties if we list them, if we can get them on the MLS. Even though we're doing a sealed bid, we need to verify the legal, we'll put it on the MLS, and require a proof of funds as part of the bid process, and require some earnest money as part of that bid process too, in case it was to come through. They also want us to verify with legal, because once again, this will get us a better bid packet, is if we can do a ghost listing. So they put a listing up on the Realtor page and essentially shows a picture of a ghost house on that property, because you can't just list vacant land on there, but we can list it with a ghost house, which would then drive more attention for other agents to be able to see that, so that then those individuals can make that bid packet. And that's the same for all 3 pieces we're going to talk about. So they estimate between 55 to 75 for that parcel. There's a parcel of land over on Selnick. They estimate the value of that to be about 35,000, where they said we should be comfortable for that quarter-acre lot. And then the community center. That's a little more complicated piece. It would condition it's currently in without walking it based on just some photos and global overview of it. If you were to do a lot split, because there's a lot, the exit parking lot is on a parcel that belongs to all the way over to Dave's Garage, so you'd have to lot split there. If you were to lot split and list that, mid-300s is what they would suggest, but if they're able to walk it, they just were not in town this week to walk it with me, that number could change a little bit. I was talking with Mike Ladd about it. It would have to, what did you call that, Mike, where they have to
It'd have
change
to,
the use?
it'd have to be rezoned.
Rezoned.
It's zoned parkland right now.
And it would have to, the use permit, right, would have to go back to the building?
So the building department would have to identify it as a residential structure again instead of commercial.
So there are several hurdles if the board was to consider that way. Once again, this is not the board making the decision to sell anything, it's just giving us some financial options
Okay, and
that exist out there.
what was an estimated price?
Mid-300s on that.
Mid-300.
And that's based on comps in the area. So that's just an update on the property assessments for the board to take under advisement. If we want more detailed on the community center, they're willing to put that together for us. It's just, we got that time to get in there. All right, next, we just have an outstanding item of AmeriGas or propane, I guess we could call it. Kevin, any updates on that?
I've had a few people reach out wanting to bid on it, but I haven't done anything with it. Nobody wants to switch till spring or
So
early
next
summer,
spring.
yeah.
Okay.
Did we ever find the location of the third propane tank?
There's just two.
There's just two, we were able to figure it
We
out.
only have
We
two.
just had a double bill sitting.
Oh, a double bill, okay.
And number 7 was, or I'm sorry, are you done? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 7 was library cost. Jonathan has reached out to me, and I'm trying to get a meeting with him to talk about it. So, no update there. That will move us into old business, board approval, administration cost. I'd like to revisit, because it's still sitting on the table, zoning, Board of Zoning Appeals and Zoning Commission stipend or per diem. I had suggested that we made some cuts to that. Mike, I'd like to have a conversation just about that again. What's your thoughts? Now that we've had like kind of 2 weeks to look through it, suggestions on changes, what's your thought process here?
So my thought process, and I spoke to both, you as well, we talked about it, and then I talked to my liaison, and I mentioned it to Kevin. We're looking back in the old minutes back in 2022, my proposal to the board was $100 for each of the members, and that was what I proposed, and then the trustees, I think it was Mike Ostensky, bumped it to $125, and then it got approved that way. But the fees were all structured and figured off of $100. So,
Okay. So, and was it figured off $100 per diem, meaning like, I guess, if we
Originally-
get to the point where like we get the per diem, meaning per day, I think that helps
Originally,
the budget.
yeah, I looked back on it, originally it was per day.
Okay. And
It
then
was
somewhere it
$100, it was
transitioned
$100 per day.
Yeah. That's true.
So fees were set at $100 per day, that's how we came up with the fee structure. Now we're at 125,
Yeah.
multiple meetings, which doesn't align with that fee structure.
No, and then the other thing that doesn't, so in my concern last meeting was that if you take it to 50, now we're too high with the fees. So,
So what would be your recommendation?
I'll leave that up to you guys. My initial recommendations was 100 to begin with.
Well,
I think that was fair. We did a study all the way around at that time. For our size and the amount of work that they do here, it's worth 100.
Sue, what's your thoughts?
my recommendation is to, since we're so strapped right now for cash, every little thing that we can do will help. And my recommendation would be to go back to the 2022, where it was $100 a meeting, regardless of how many different sections that you talked about. So that way, it would be $100 a meeting for the,
$100 a night or $100 a meeting?
$100 a night.
A night, okay.
That would help clear up a little bit, but it wouldn't be lowered so much that would be an insult. And I don't wanna insult these people on these two boards do a terrific amount of work for us.
Yeah, and I recognize that, and I do know there's a lot of work that goes into it. It's more, I think the cost got away from us. When it started going per meeting, I think it got really expensive. at that point. You know, for example, like we said, last meeting was $5,000. That's a lot of money when we're looking at a per diem or a stipend
I agree.
type position. Kevin, do you have any input?
I like the way it's going. It sounds, I mean,
It's
reasonable.
It's reasonable.
I take Mike's advice. I mean, he said it in 2022, 100 was reasonable. I don't know where it went from there. Got out of control. We just can't afford it today. You can't justify today's reasons with yesterday's decisions. It's just, you know, I think everybody's being fair at the moment.
Well, I mean, our budget's on the growth, which is good, but still, at the same time, it's about spending money the best way we can compared to the other communities too. Like, we have a responsibility to do that.
Well,
I'm not
think-
opposed to 125. I'm okay with 100 also. I'm just looking for feedback from everybody. My big sticking point on this is you just gotta change it to one meeting a month and everything is captured in that.
And
meeting
I'm
at the same
fine
time.
with the 125, but I think then I'm gonna have to come back with you to revisit some of the fees just to make sure that that covers the 125.
So do we wanna set it at 1 for right now and then kind of watch it throughout the year and we can
That's-
make an adjustment? That
that's
way,
up to
it's
you
not
guys.
causing additional work for you now. We can monitor it throughout the year and then make an adjustment in 27 or mid-year if we see that there's a need.
I think the fee structure was set for 100 originally.
Yeah, it
Um,
was. It was.
So, I mean, we could revisit, it's up to you, if you want me to revisit and equal it out for that, that's fine.
So you're saying if we raised it, or we kept the 125, but per diem, that we have to go and raise our zoning fees?
I would say with the money crisis that we're in right now, we should raise the zoning fees if you're gonna keep it at 125. If you're gonna go to
Okay.
100, that's what I balance the whole fee structure on.
But then we're penalizing the residents, right?
Right.
So I think,
Well, I
Let's
think-
keep it at 1 would be my suggestion.
yeah.
Let's monitor this year. One motion is good as the next. We can make some adjustments if we see a need to, if
Yeah.
we see a market change. But we can also make some adjustments in 27 also.
Correct.
Because we know the budget's on that positive direction at that
Correct.
point. So-
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that this zoning commission board, and I do attend those meetings as a resident. I don't make many comments at all. I just take it all in. But what we're doing on our land use plan and our book that goes up to 2050, what we're doing there, if we had the excess money, we could just send that out to a company that does that and makes these plans for townships. And they would do everything for us and then give it back to us and give us a bill for about $100,000. And what we have is a group of 7 people from Brimfield that know Brimfield, and they are doing it for, this would be like $100 a meeting. So I just want to explain that that's some of the cost that we don't have to take into account. They're working hard.
Well, I'll entertain a motion, just so we can make some adjustments we need to, but a motion on the floor to set the zoning stipends at $100 per diem, defined as per day.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right. So we're gonna define it $100 per member per day.
Per day.
And then our goal, Mike, is to keep that to one meeting a month, just so that we don't end up meeting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we can still have that same run.
Right, and that still allows, like, with our zoning fees, it allows for veterans, there's fees waived for veterans and seniors and things of that nature, so it still allows for that.
Okay. No, I appreciate it,
Yep.
and I'm glad everybody could kind of step back and look at it right
Mhm.
before we get to this point.
Nice compromise. Thank you.
Any further comments? All right. If not, roll call.
Kevin?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
All right. We'll now move into new business. We have our upcoming Memorial Day event at Wrestling Cemetery. Sue, any comments?
Yeah, I have comments on that. Our cemetery sexton, Jendi Miller, has pulled this program together for enough years that she knows what she's doing. I had a conversation with her, and she is willing to go ahead and start planning now for the Memorial Day. And we had talked about not having the program this year because of our financial situation that we're in. And so she's working with people, and I think she's going to make it very cost-effective for us. As many of you know, my husband, who is now deceased, was in 2 wars and in combat in the Second War and the Korean War. So the veterans are very, very close to my heart. But I'll work with Jendi and help her wherever I can. And she is going to go ahead and start pulling that together.
Can we keep it early in the morning so we can kind of do that whole process we
8
kind
o'clock.
of changed to? Yeah, so we can memorial, then you can make it the pancake breakfast, then you can make it to the parade.
Yeah.
That way we work well with
Yeah,
the
we would,
Lions
it
and
would
stuff.
be at 8 o'clock, and then from there you can go to Methodist Church and have pancakes. And then from there you can go down to Suffield to the parade and make a whole day out of it.
All right, sounds good. All right, somebody has on here volunteer to assist Jendi with cemetery clerical work, 16 hours.
Yeah, that's me. I just wanted to, just an informational update for the board. One of our officers, his daughter has to do some community service hours, and had a conversation. I'm talking to Jendi. She's got a backlog of some very basic clerical work that she needs to get done. So I'm going to put her in touch with Jendi, and it's about 16 hours. She'll help take some of that backload off of Jendi's plate. So just
Well,
an informational update.
I have a few hours I can give her. I'll pick her up and take her over to the recorder's office, and we'll do research on the military people if you can spare her.
I'm not sure that's on her bingo card, but yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just thought I'd offer it.
All right, I appreciate the update. Under board approval, we did have cleaning service, but that's been tabled. So now we need to go to response to case number 2024CV00437. This is going to be in reference to a property at 1203 Dora Lee Drive. All board members should have been notified via a letter along with the superintendent and the Land Revitalization Corporation. There is a parcel over there, once again, 1203 Dora Lee, that looks like it was behind on taxes. The treasurer took it to court and foreclosed on that property. They are giving us 10 days to respond if we want the property. This document from the courts was filed on February 23rd, so that's why we're discussing it today. My recommendation after talking with Mike Ladd would be to engage with Chad Murdoch to petition the courts to accept the property. This is a property that we had a house demolished on,
Yeah.
and then this would be coming into our control. So, for the sake of conversation, I'll entertain a motion to engage with Chad Murdoch to petition the courts to accept.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Mike, you would just reach out to him and he would handle the paperwork from here? Because we
I-
have till Thursday to respond.
I
to that.
emailed them tonight,
Okay.
so I'll let you guys know.
Board's good with that, just another partial. It butts right up to Mogador Reservoir. So, yeah. We can hold on to it, or once again, it might be a piece that we end up turning around and reselling at some point. It's a buildable lot, I believe, right?
It's a beautiful lot.
It is, very nice.
Yeah, it's a nice lot.
All right, we got a motion on a second to accept partial number 0400 or 0406810-00-036-000. Roll call for acceptance.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
motion
Pass
passed.
this letter down for Jasmine for our records, please.
Thank you.
And then lastly, we have our Central Visitors Bureau. I have had a complication come up, a personal piece that I need to deal with on Tuesdays. Sue, would you be able to cover Central Visitors Bureau meetings for a while? Okay,
They meet tomorrow,
yes,
7:30?
yes.
7:30?
Yeah, Mike's place.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, any other questions? All right, if not, we'll move into zoning and economic development.
Oh, thanks. Yep, the fees to date, it's the beginning of the year, so not a whole lot yet, just 3,129. That's expected to go up, obviously. Request to approve the following proposed text amendments from the zoning commission. We had public hearings prior to this meeting. The first one is amendment to chapter 10, definitions, to clarify the definition of building height and to create a new definition for the eave.
I'll entertain a motion to accept amendments to chapter 10, definitions to clarify definition of building height, and to create a new definition for eve.
So moved.
And I'll second.
For discussion, these were all duly advertised,
Yes,
and regional planning gave their opinion back.
yes, they approved it.
Okay, and there's public hearings held by zoning commission,
Yes, they were.
and we held public commissions, public comments tonight. Were there any public comments at the zoning commission the board should be aware of?
No.
And we had no comments here tonight. Is there anything else we should know about this?
This helps clarify. This came up with the new hotel behind McDonald's. The architect was measuring, with the current definition, they can measure the front of the building to the eave, which is supposed to be 40 feet, but then the back of the building can be as high as you want. So this makes this uniform, so the whole building is 40 feet, so that our fire department can safely get people out if needed.
So it was creating a life safety code issue.
It is life
because we
safety.
couldn't.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions from anybody? All right, roll call for acceptance of the zoning amendment change.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
all right, motion passed.
All right, next, we'll entertain a motion to accept the creation of Appendix F lighting standards.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, Mike, give us an update on this.
Yeah, so this is actually created by the zoning commission. Two actual members did the bulk of the work, Bill Anderson and Robert Reslovich. They created this lighting centers for the town centers. It's very nice. It keeps everything uniform, and also it's building for the future.
So to clarify, the lighting standards will be just town center.
Just town center, yes.
Okay. Was this duly advertised for all the meetings?
It was.
Regional planning have any comments?
They approved it.
Okay. Public hearings held by zoning commission.
They were held, yeah.
We held public comments tonight. We had none. Did they have any of those?
None.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the floor about adding the lighting district? I know this was a big project, Mike. It took them some time to put this together.
Yeah, this took almost a whole year.
And it ties in with the lighting that we kind of have already.
Yeah, and it can, we could change the lights out too, so. to
But it'll
LED.
standardize it, so they'll always look the same.
Yep.
Okay.
I just want to clarify that Bill Anderson and the other gentleman,
Robert, yeah.
Robert, on the zoning commission, that they have extensive background in electrical and they're retired, so they're very well qualified to be making these recommendations with the zoning commission that we worked with. And I attended all those meetings too. Thank you, Bill.
Any other discussion? If not, roll call for acceptance, please.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right. Entertain a motion to accept the amendments to section 304.02B to remove number 8, planned residential developments, and make the necessary updates in appendices C and E to reflect the removal.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor. Mike, give us an update about what this means about PRDs.
Yeah, so this is at the request of the trustees to help create and to hold on to more agriculture. The zoning commission looked at this extensively for several meetings, decided the best way to keep our agriculture is to eliminate the planned residential developments in the R2 zoning district. That is where the bulk of the properties would be that have 20 acres or more. That could be a planned residential development. This does not say that they can't put in a development. It's just that if they do a development now, it would have to be one acre parcels instead of quarter acre parcels.
So PRDs, and I have 20 acres and it's a PRD, I can go quarter acre lots right now.
Yes,
This would change that. If I have 20 acres, I could just do 1 acre lot houses.
1 acre lot houses.
So it allows us to spread that out.
Yep.
Okay. Was this duly advertised for all meetings?
It was.
And regional planning's response to this?
They approved it.
Okay, and public meetings held for zoning commission?
There was, nobody showed up.
Okay, and public meetings here, we had no comments. Well, actually, we did have some comments asking about Could somebody go to BZA? Theoretically, somebody could go to BZA, but it becomes a more difficult piece to do because it's not automatically granted the way it's written.
Correct.
So right now, they would not have to go to BZA if they wanted to go over 20 acres.
That's right. Well, it would go to BZA as a conditional use, and now you cannot, yes.
Okay, now it can't go as conditional. Okay. Other questions? I think it's a good step in the right direction to start to spread out those houses and no longer have quarter acres, it takes us to 1 acre.
And it's less likely that they're gonna do that because the lot sizes become more expensive. But if, it's gonna promote more custom building instead of one big company coming in and building all the homes. So similar to like Sugar Maple.
Okay.
So you're gonna have, more custom build
So
developments.
it doesn't stop development, it just allows it to develop more in a way that the board would like to see it
Yes.
develop.
Mhm.
Okay,
Bigger lots, and it makes sense, you're in a township.
all right. Any other comments? Roll call.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to accept amendments to section 400.10B as in boy to remove number 51, institutions for human medical care such as, but not limited to, hospitals, clinics, mental health care facilities, and nursing homes.
so moved.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor. Mike, give us an update on this change.
Yeah, this was unnecessary overkill within, medical care facilities. For example, this was brought to light when we have an oral surgery center going in next to Dillon's, between Dillon's and Tamarack. The lot was 1.95 acres, and they had to seek variances to come in and build on that. Even though they had enough parking and enough room, they still had to seek a variance because it was a 2-acre minimum if it was medical. If it was an auto repair shop, they wouldn't have had to do that, but medically, so it didn't make any sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're just eliminating it to stop it. And some of our dentist office and things of that nature, they don't even meet this criteria, so it didn't make any sense why we have it.
So it eliminates unnecessary BZA applications.
Right, correct.
This is duly advertised for all meetings.
Yes,
Regional planning accepted,
yep, and approved.
and public hearing for zoning commission.
Yeah, there was nobody that showed up.
And there was no comments on this today here. With that said, any other questions? All right, roll call.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you.
And then Mike, these take what, 30 days or 60 days?
Yeah, it's a 30-day waiting period, and if anybody challenges, they got 30 days to appeal the decision you made.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for the update. Any questions for zoning today? All right, hearing none, moving road department. Dave, floor is yours, sir.
All right, thanks, Nick. Just some old business updates. We signed a mowing contract with, for the cemetery with Suncrest. It's all the paperwork's taken care of. The plow for the pickup truck is finally fixed, so we're ready to go next snowstorm. We've been out doing some coal mixing on roads on, some of our worst holes and stuff. I had to kind of wait for some of them to dry out before we could, fill them without losing everything. We're doing some work on, trucks and plows. Again, just routine maintenance, getting things ready to go for if we have another storm, which tonight's probably gonna be a fun one. But, other than that, that's pretty much what I got. Other than, we could have some freezing rain tonight, which is worse than 6 inches of snow. So it could be very tricky in the morning, so we'll see how it goes.
All right. Well, I appreciate the update. Any questions for road department? Dave, thank you guys again. It's been a long winter. We haven't had a winter like this in a while, so we appreciate what they're doing out there. All right. IT. Joe, how are you, sir?
I am good. So I'm looking for board approval to move forward with STG for the redesigning of the new website. Unfortunately, our negotiations with Civic Plus have come to a halt. They've quit responding to me. I have sent them numerous emails giving them deadlines with the final deadline of Friday, so I'd have time to prepare for today's meeting, and they didn't even respond to that email. So unfortunately, Civic Plus is no longer getting back to me. So I did have a conversation with STG, verifying that the quote they gave us in the beginning is still valid and that they are still able to meet our timeline. We may have to do, as I've discussed with you, maybe a phased approach where we do the core important stuff, public notices, a calendar, basic contact information with a follow-up with all the pretty stuff. If we need to get the site moved faster than anything, but I still need to get something back from Civic Plus of how long our current site will be active, so I can get a timeline to SDG of when we need to get the site up. So I'm still working with Civic Plus to hope that they give me something to say, hey, we can do month to month, or your site is going to get turned off at this date. I still need that, but I am going to, pending you guys approving, I would like to move forward with STG to start working on the new site so we can get it up as fast as possible. And so that would be $3,550. That would be a 3-year contract. So to help keep the costs down, they're splitting the creation of the new site cost over those 3 years. So they're taking the cost of creating the site, spread it over 3 years, and then after that 3 years, their maintenance and keeping the site running is $900 a year.
Oh, substantial savings.
Oh, it is significant savings, yes.
Roy, from the PD standpoint, I know we kind of integrated sites. Is there going to be specific pieces you're going to need to keep active during that transition, or are you okay to have pieces down during that transition? Just because we might have to make that quick change.
I guess it's going to depend on what we're able to get up. The short answer is no. I don't think there's anything that's going to be critical, but I was just curious on the timelines on that.
I would definitely work with all the department heads to make sure that we target what is critical, get up, first, and then what can be done in a phased approach. And that's only I'm gonna call that Plan B. Plan A would be is Civic Plus comes back to me and gives me a reasonable timeline of a few months. Technically, our contract with Civic Plus is not up till April, so I'm hoping that that they don't push us off earlier than that, and we're able to stay online with them till April, and then we'd have this new site, at least majority of the site done before then. If Civic Plus decides to be uncooperative, and unfortunately that's the direction that it seems to be moving, as they're not getting paid. Last time I've had any communication with them has been over a week ago. It was shortly after the last trustee meeting. And it was, unfortunately, it was, again, a salesperson saying, oh yeah, that's not gonna be a problem, but yet I can't get any answer.
How fast can STG spin up a site in the event that Civic Plus was to turn us off because of the public notice piece? And the reason I'm asking is, are we going to need to have a secondary motion on the floor that, hey, our secondary option to advertise meetings for a short time frame might have to go back to the record courier?
I don't have an exact timeline from them, but if we need a phase B, they could get something up fairly quickly. If we're just looking for a very basic informational site, that wouldn't take them more than maybe a couple weeks. So
It just hampers our ability to make public notices.
right,
If
and that
we're
would be
down
what
for a
I'm saying, the
couple
public notices, the calendar, the contact information, obviously, I'd work with the other department heads, fire and police and everyone else to make sure what is crucial to them, and get that in that first scope. And if we make a very basic site without pictures and, just informational, it's not very hard to do. It's when you start adding the graphics and make it look pretty. So we may have a phase A, which is just purely text on a page. Think of, the origin of the internet back in the 90s. And, it meets basic requirement. And then, 3 to 4 weeks later, the final site comes up. So, when I started working with STG, I told them that I had an April timeline, and they felt they could get the whole site up by then. Now we've delayed by a few weeks working with Civic Plus with the hope that we were able to come to an agreement, and unfortunately those negotiations stalled. It seemed that everything was moving in a positive direction, but when I got to the point of, okay, I need a formal quote, that is when they stopped talking to me. So it fizzled down. I thought we were moving in a positive direction to stay with them, and they just backtracked. So, wasn't the answer I want to present to you, but, we have to do what we got to do. So we'll move with STG. They've been very very pleasant to work with, very easy to communicate with. They're eager to work with us. So that's my recommendation as of right now. Once, I do need to get that clarification of Civic Plus, just so I have a timeline of, where that's gonna be. But if they're not gonna communicate with me, I'm gonna work with STG to get something up as fast as possible.
If this is approved today, we'll just need you to come back to the next meeting to tell us
Yes,
how fast they can get us up.
correct.
Just for public information requests.
Yes,
That's the
definitely.
big concern.
Yeah.
All right, let's get a motion on the floor and then get into the nitty-gritty details. So I'll entertain a motion to approve a website change to STG website at $3,550 per year for a 3-year contract.
For a 3-year contract.
Yes.
That's
I'll
correct.
make that motion.
I'll second.
Jasmine, you good with 3-year contracts?
Yes,
Okay. And we got the money to do this year?
yes,
Because we actually, did we budget for Civic Plus?
yes.
Okay. I think it's a savings. Roy, do you see any potential hiccups?
No.
Yeah.
Good. It's good news, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. From the original price that Civic Plus was quoting us to this, it is a significant savings. So we're moving in the right direction from a fiscal standpoint also.
Do you know if Civic Plus is April 1st?
I don't know the exact date.
April
I
30th.
apologize. I noticed sometime in April.
Okay,
I don't have the exact date, but I will, for the next meeting, I will have all of that locked down.
okay.
I just want to make sure we have a plan.
Yeah.
In case the website goes
Yes,
down.
I mean, it's gonna be a challenge to get it done. That's why I spoke with STG on Friday, just to say, hey, are you truly up to this? Because we're gonna be pulling this trigger, and yes, while I said we may have to do it a phased approach, getting a informational site up first, if Civic Plus decides to not wanna work with us, but, we're still hoping that we can get something, the final site done, so we're not doing a phased approach, but, I'm planning a contingency plan just in case.
Do you remember, Jasmine, what we budgeted? Was it 10 or 15,000 for that website?
We have, I think it's about 15, because I had a total for 18,000, but that, we had a few other items budgeted within there, so about 15.
Okay. So it's substantial savings for us. Good. All right, we got a motion on the floor to accept STG. Roll call?
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes.
board approves.
Okay.
Got your work cut out.
And moving also in the same direction, our contract with AT&T for our fiber internet is gonna be up in June. So I started negotiating with, or actually communicating with Spectrum and AT&T to see what type of processes we can look at. And AT&T came back to me with a different option. Same technology, same physical fiber. It is just a different product that they now offer in Brimfield. So it is, the biggest difference is what we call service level agreement. Right now, if we have an issue with our internet, we have an enterprise level connection with AT&T. So they'll come out within 4 hours to resolve our issue. If we go to basic fiber internet, we lose that 4-hour window, but it's still gonna get repaired by AT&T because they don't want their network to be down. We just don't have that enterprise level agreement. But that takes us from, right now, we're spending almost $1,000 a month per building. So $1,000 for the police department and $1,000 for the combined fire admin building. If we move forward with this AT&T fiber internet, that will take us down to $160 per month for the fire admin building and $190 a month for the for the police department. So that is a monthly savings of $2,029. This is also a 36-month term, as with most AT&T things. So over the course of the contract, we would be saving $73,000 by switching this. As I said, the biggest difference is that service levels agreement. If want to remind you that we do have a backup connection. We still will be maintaining our backup cellular connections in both buildings. So in the event that this does go down, which I have no reason to believe it will, because it's still physically the same fiber we're using today. It's just they're switching some software on their end. If that was to go down, we still have our backup cellular connection. So we still have a plan B. So, and I've had the discussion with Captain Atkins in the police department, since he's very tech savvy, and also the police department, relies on their internet connection very heavily, and he's comfortable with making this change for this amount of savings.
Okay.
So it's a,
All right, I'll entertain a motion to switch to AT&T fiber internet.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
So this would take effect in June?
this actually,
Because I
This
know
will-
we had talked, is this gonna take effect in June, or are we just buying the contract out early and making the
Correct.
transition now?
to buy our contract out, and I've actually had this conversation with Jasmine, it's a 50% penalty. So we would pay out 50% of what we would pay for the old connection and still have a savings because of the difference between what we're paying now versus then. It actually makes sense to buy out our contract so we can put this in as fast as possible. AT&T feels that, again, this could be installed in a matter of a few weeks. So we may be able to get this installed by the end of the month and start saving money now. And so that would, with your approval, that would be my recommendation, is go ahead and install this. Once this is online, then we just buy out our existing contract at 50%, which is between now and June, and it's still a cost savings. And I have had that conversation with Jasmine, and she's okay with that.
Jasmine, we got the funds to do that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thoughts, everybody? Jasmine, you excited to save some money?
Oh, yeah, you know I'm excited.
Kevin, what's your thoughts?
Good news.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, we don't need the 4-hour window because we have the cellular
We've
backup.
not, I mean, I'm gonna knock on wood, we've not had a problem since we installed it, and physically, it is the exact same connection. They're coming out and running new wires. All they're doing is changing some technology in both ends. And it's the same prior to having the AT&T fiber when we were on Spectrum. It's that same SLA we had. Spectrum doesn't give you a 4-hour window. So when we moved from cable internet to fiber 3 years ago, while we gained that, you know, we were fine before. You know, we've always had that backup cellular connection. So we've always had a plan B in both buildings that, you know, protect us. And I have no reason to believe that even if there was an outage, you know, AT&T is going to get their wiring fixed as fast as possible. It's, you know, if something hits a phone pole, yeah, we're down, but they're still going to want to fix it because they've got every other customer on their network that's going to be affected. So it's, you know, and it's enough of a savings right now that, you know, I definitely feel it's worth doing. And in 3 years, if we say, you know what, we want to go back to having better internet, we can always go back. But, you know, we're, as I said, over the course of the 3 years, we're saving $73,000, which is a good chunk of change.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call for acceptance.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes,
motion passes.
Okay, that's all I have.
thank you. All right, moving to cemetery, under new business, Sue Fields, you have cemetery plot buybacks.
Yes. You know, Jendi Miller is our cemetery sexton, and she brought to my attention that in the past, we have, when people have come to us and said, hey, I paid X amount of dollars for my plot, and now my family decides they all want to go someplace else, or they've moved out, or all these things have happened, and we would buy back their plot, but we would pay back to them what they paid originally for the plot. So it's her recommendation, and I agree with her, that we should not be buying back the cemetery plots, because right now that all that money comes out of the general fund, and it doesn't happen very often that opportunity comes our way, but I think with our condition, it's time now for us not to do that anymore.
How often do you think we buy back?
I would say maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
What's the average cost of the plot?
Well, it depends on, right now, let's see, I think it's like 300 a plot right now. But if you bought your plot for $75 20 years ago, then you would get your $75 back.
Jasmine, thoughts on this? Did we stop doing that? Were we at that point that we need to do that, or?
I don't know enough about this to make, like, I'm not sure.
Like, we'd save $1,200 a year. You wanna make that change? What's your thoughts?
I'll leave it up to y'all.
What do we,
Well, I just want to let y'all talk about it.
Could we put it on a list and say it's available for purchase? Instead of us buying it back?
When we buy
I
it, and
mean,
we resell it again, so it
yeah,
goes right back on the
yeah.
list. So if we bought it for 70, we sold it for 75, we buy it back for 75, now we're selling it for 300. It's just, if somebody bought 4 plots right now at $300 a piece and wanted to sell them back to us, we'd have to give them $300 a piece.
We're gonna sell them someday. Not going anywhere.
I think I'd be more concerned if we were having like 20 of them a year.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna mix on anything like that.
I don't think it's worth putting somebody in a hardship that maybe is just not gonna use it with that small amount.
Okay. Well, we did want to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a valid conversation.
We're looking every place that we can to cut costs. And, and along with that comment, you know, we've already done the zoning commission and cut them back a little bit. I think we really need to take a real serious look, like Joe's been doing. Take a real serious look at all of our different departments and see if there's ways that we can cut back wherever we can.
Well, I think we have been. We've found some really good cost savings
Yeah,
so
we did.
far.
Thank you, Joe.
We found some good ones. I think everybody's kind of stepped up to the plate, and we got all sorts of pieces moving right now. I haven't all in front of me, but-
Okay. So, well,
Financial crisis or not, I think it's good that we're tightening down the straps and doing a complete review and getting us back into that operating position. Because now we're in a good spot.
well, I would like to make a motion in the positive, and if we all decide that we can leave the buybacks, then we'll, just vote me no, I'm fine. I just wanted to have this discussion and get it on the books that we've actually looked into something for this.
So we'll entertain a motion to pause cemetery plot buybacks.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion or concerns about it? Roll call to pause the buybacks.
Kevin,
No.
Sue,
No.
Nick,
No.
all right, motion failed.
Anything else under cemetery?
No, that's right. They don't give me any trouble.
All right. Jasmine, what do you got for us? Anything today?
Nothing today. I'm gonna be locked and loaded for the next meeting.
I think I might travel next meeting. No, I'm just teasing. All right, we do have an executive session. Please bear with me, I gotta find my executive session for that. Missing for some reason. There it is. All right, I'd like to move into make a motion to move into executive session, to convene executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22G, for the purposes of considering the following manner: compensation of a public employee or official. I'll make that motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right, we will be convening an executive session at 8:13 PM. This will be for the Board of Trustees, the fiscal officer initially, and then Chief Mosley, we'd like you to come back in a few minutes. All right, we're back from executive session. Coming out of executive session, we have been for some time looking at some options as we move forward. And at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to create a township administrator position per the Ohio Revised Code and submitted position description.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to create a township administrator position, which would be located in the township administrative offices. As we've been building the budget and working through pieces, this has been a piece on our mind. I think it's essential that we have this administrator role to help us as we move forward. And we've been piecing it together. The application process is going to be an internal look and an internal transfer is what we're examining right now. And we'll have some more information as we continue to review this moving forward. Anything to add, Kevin or Sue?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So a motion and a second on the floor to create a township administrator per the Ohio Revised Code and position description. Roll call to create that position.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right, we'll continue to work on this. We'll put together a complete packet on this, but this was the first step towards building this out. And hopefully we'll have something at the next meeting. All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Nope.
All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
I'll second.
All right.
Roll call.
Kevin,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
meeting adjourned, 9:26.
Amen.